It is perhaps a repetition to say that bringing so many professionals together to innovate is something that is very important for Calcutta to get back its glory, for Bengal to get back its glory. The government of West Bengal very much encourages innovation. Recently, a cabinet note has been approved by the government of West Bengal in which it has been stated that innovation as a concept will be encouraged in all towns of Bengal. And it is you who would give fresh and new ideas, whether you are an engineer or an architect or a town planner. And especially in the matter of town planning, for example, very recently we have taken a decision that a Gitobitan township near Shantiniketan in about 150 acres of land will be built, and that is the government diktat, on the lines and thinking of Rabindranath. Now, how do you build a city to imbibe the art, culture, and thinking of Rabindranath? One has to be innovative. And therefore, I congratulate the organizers who I know even in the Park Hotel where it was launched in the first place, and I believe a lot of enthusiasm has been obtained from the districts as well, and a lot of new conferences will be held even before the pujas. I would certainly expect, I think is the correct word, that you would really come up with very great innovative design.
It gives me great pleasure that on the auspicious day of Engineers Day, the Konstrukt 2 is being launched. Konstrukt 2 is in the process of the successful event of the Konstrukt 1. We are trying to make this Konstrukt 2. Konstrukt 2 is also going to further enrich the professional engineers and architects, and they will be able to showcase their design thoughts and ideas. And these design thoughts and ideas, which since last year we have initiated, we are hopeful that this year many more people will participate and many more successful designs will be able to identify. As you all know, that Konstrukt 2 is also innovative in the sense that in addition to last year's Konstrukt 1, we are organizing conclaves in different parts of the state. As you know, this particular Konstrukt is identifying the creative designer across the state who are spread over all the districts. So since the people from the districts will be participating in the Design Innovation Award, this conclave will enrich the thought process and will disseminate the selected professionals' thoughts and ideas, which they will be able to get benefit. The large number of professionals will, whoever is going to participate or not, are going to be benefited by the whole process of conclave. Conclaves are also going to be held in 5 different places, which is the assimilation of the different districts together. And today the Calcutta one is the first of its kind. And it will ultimately end up into, it will also go to Durgapur, it will also go to Kharagpur, it will go to Siliguri, it will go to Malda, and all these places. So naturally, you can well imagine that a large professionals will be benefited by this process, and who will be able to get the thought processes of leading professionals who are identified as the key speakers of the conclave. We are also of the opinion, as you know, that our spatial variation remains same. Only thing is that we would like to highlight on integration and amalgamation of architecture and engineering. We are also trying to distinguish the plotted development and the group housing as the major variations. And I will also restate that this Konstrukt program will also try to reach the students across this country who are also participating through their project works in a very creative way. So primarily professionals who will be involved in varied kind of spatial creation, as I said, residential, institutional, commercial, leisure recreational, landscape, infrastructure, conservations, and similarly, the students also will be benefited by virtue of their contribution or sharing their work and know mutually. I guess that this year's construct, by virtue of the much more integrated manner, will also have more benefits of the professionals. And as I have already told you, that like last year, this year also, the design innovation will be assessed or evaluated by a very large group of unbiased jury who are today known across the country as the leading professionals. We hope that with this new additional efforts to our Construct 1, Construct 2 is going to further take the process ahead, and the professionals will be benefited through this process. Thank you very much.
Hello everybody, good evening. This is a objective of this session is to organize a seminar by 4 leading personalities. And I happen to be your moderator. We have very knowledgeable professionals, but before that I would like to talk 1 or 2 points about the theme of the discussion. As you know that it is already being publicized, stated that global aspirations and local applications. Nomenclatures might have been varied. I could see Professor JD has used it indifferently. So the issue before us is that there are lots of evolutionary growth of this country. History has gone from old civilization, and we are talking about the latest civilization as well as the construction technology. And we are all sure that we are in the midst of adopting something, producing something, and contributing something. So in the midst of all these things, we have 4 leading speakers. May I invite the speakers, Mr. Anjan Gupta.
Mr. Anjan Gupta started his career, Eva Maddox Associates, as a senior architectural designer before joining Skidmore, Owings and Merrill as project architect. Having an exemplary career graph, he worked on the projects including the AT&T Corporate Center in Chicago, Arthur Anderson Professional School Campus in Illinois, and the Canary Wharf Urban Design Project in London. His association with SOM was followed by working with ISD Inc., Perkins and Will, and finally OWP&P, now Canon Design, as a senior designer. His portfolio includes projects ranging from healthcare and hospitality to research laboratories, auditoria design, institutional foreign consulates, recreational, educational, and residential architecture.
Konstrukt, as you know, we started its journey last year only, and we got a huge response. It's a design competition throughout the district of the state, and it's not only for the professional architects and engineers, as well as for the students. So this time we are trying to, whatever experience we gathered last time, we are trying to plug those holes with our experience and try to improve the whole situation.
We are more than honored to have a design titan like him with us tonight. Mr. Anjan Gupta started his career, Eva Maddox Associates.
Good evening, my architect friends and engineer friends, and my professor who are also present here tonight. Professor Biplab Sengupta was my professor too at IIT, and Professor Devi Mollik, I saw him after a long time. So, and today I was not ready for as a speaker. I was supposed to be a moderator. At the last moment I got to know that I'm going to be a speaker. So I have to rewrite the story I didn't know. I mean, even whatever I did work on the computer, that didn't get saved. So I'll just take you through a pictorial journey this evening. I think we have engineer friends, architect friends They are very aware of this, what I'm going to show. This is the experience of 35 years of journey in the field of architecture. Not only here, also abroad. I studied abroad, I worked abroad, and got some experience, and I'll just share with you some of my experiences which may be relevant to the topic we'll be discussing today. And before this selection of the topic, because I'm also the member of the coordinating committee, so we are discussing what sort of a topic we should have for the first conclave, rather the topic which will be discussed in all these 4 places, 4 venues. I came up with an idea of why not go for the impact of technology, what you see abroad, the beautiful, amazing architecture, but we have the interest, aspiration, but we cannot achieve that. Then I think Joydeep came with a very good coinage, which says, Anjana, why don't you go for this? Global aspiration and local applications. I said, this is great. So tonight we'll be talking about, and I'm going to the first speaker. So you have to bear with me. If I'm too slow in certain thing, or if you get bored, let me know. I'll just stop right there. So more or less, I'll take you through a journey. And as Professor Biplab Sengru said, for any architecture or any engineering, we went through the civilization. So history, we'll start with history, basic history, you all know about it. And the history has a bearing on the present. The past has a bearing on the present. And also, the present has a bearing on the future. So therefore, we just can't ignore the history, even if you go back to civilization before. And the concept, before I go through the slides, I'd like to tell you how I just put together all these slides. It's not just visual presentation, but the concept of this topic is like the global aspirations and local application. I will sum it up at the very end of my lecture, the presentation. And thousands of years back, we didn't have any communication system. But human civilization grew in different parts of the globe, across the globe, without getting influenced by different region, different culture. We have Mayan civilization, we had Indus Valley civilization, and they are not connected, and they are not inspired by there was no global aspiration. It evolved, the architecture evolved based on their culture, their lifestyle, their technology, and that's what I would start with. And the moment we talk about structure, architecture, the first thing which comes to my mind is Stonehenge. That's in UK, Salisbury. And it's still debatable, controversial, whether it's man-made or somebody says it's done by some ET. We don't know. But there's a portal system, lintel, beam and lintel system. That's the basics of any architecture. That's the first starting point of human civilization. And then a Machu Picchu, Indus Valley civilization. The largest structure, which is still used for different mathematical calculation. I don't want to get into the details of pyramid. All engineers and architects know about it. But I'm just trying to show how the civilization came without getting influenced by other countries or other culture. But they had their own style of architecture. And then slowly, if you look at Greece, Rome, and other places, they had their own architecture. They were getting into more finesse, that architecture with the details. And it evolved in different places. At that time, people never used to really travel across the world. And there's not much of, so it was more individualistic style, I would say. And India was not far behind. We had this rock-cut temple and Meenakshi Mandir, even I believe that it's supposed to have been built 6th century BC. So just imagine, it was rebuilt after that in 14th century AD. So we had that architecture without getting influenced by global civilization and architecture. Even we ended up with Taj Mahal, Mughal influence. The Humayun's tomb was the foundation for this concept of Taj Mahal, interpreted in different material. Then we had all this colonial effect. People came here, people started to travel, the mobility of the people because they wanted to explore different countries, and they brought along with them the different kind of culture, civilization, which was reflected in those colonial areas. If you go to Goa, you will see, everybody knows about it, but that had some impact on architecture in India, whether Mughal or Dutch or Danish, French, Portuguese, of course, not to mention about the British, they left a mark, indelible mark. The Lutyens, Delhi is amazing, and also we have in Calcutta Victoria Memorial, but they were all translated in different material. They were inspired, they were kind of mixed with different style. So global, why I'm talking about this global, because being in India or working in India, when you think of the global architecture, how it's influenced. Now, because of the internet, because the Google, you can search, you know what's happening all around the world. You get exposed. And the mobility also has increased because of the economics. And most of you have traveled abroad, have seen, witnessed, know what's happening there. You've seen, and all these old buildings, they stand as their mute testimonies of the historical ruins, the ruins we see. And we try to gauge, what kind of technology they had. Now, with the advent of technology, this is just a pillar. This is a 1600-year-old pillar, steel. We are talking about steel, SRMB steel. But this is still amazing. They look at the work of the ironsmith, what they had done 1600 years back. And still standing, we're uncorroded, it's still there. Then, Eiffel Tower, with the advancement of technology, it's 150 years old almost, and it's Paris, everybody knows about it. Why I'm talking about it today, because I was told that a lot of engineers are going to be there. It's an engineering marvel as well. The steel structure, and it was built 150 years ago, the structural engineers can explain. And it's one of the tallest structures in Europe, of course, the tallest in Paris. Then going back again to US, those days, the early 19th century, 20th century, Frank Lloyd Wright. These are places which I visited, I witnessed, amazing architecture. So it doesn't have to, we get inspired, why I'm talking about the aspiration. So these are the backdrop which help us aspire to be, different architect in local context. So that inspired, it has been almost 100 years back, 80 years back. Then the same man, the Frank Lloyd Wright, he had thought of this mile-high tower, the Illinois, twice the height of Burj Khalifa Tower in 1958, the year I was born. And, but he couldn't get it built. Perhaps that time SRMB steel wasn't there, but the steel was the major problem, what I heard. And engineers were there, but the available steel, which couldn't support that wind load. But the same concept has been translated later on. It's going to be done in Abu Dhabi, I think, and Saudi Arabia, the proposed kingdom building. You see the inspiration, they've got it from this building. And this is Burj Khalifa, because I'm trying to mention because this was designed by my boss, Adrian Smith, when I was at Skidmore. He is the one who designed all the tall structures all around the world. Now he has formed his own company, Smith and Gill, Gordon Gill. They've been doing some work in Bombay as well. You see, we are not far behind. We are trying to reach the sky, trying to kiss the sky. We are vying with each other, who will be taller. So it's happening in India now. We are not far behind. So you see a 116-story building by I.M. Pei, and this is by Adrian Smith, 116-story, 117, 116, and behind that, our Hafiz contractor, the towers are there. And architects and engineers, why there has to be a synergy between architects and engineers to create something different. It's not very mundane kind of space, or the bridge, it can be a block building, but there's no challenge. It can be sculptural, which will inspire us, which will inspire creativity, and that you can see from color travel structure. This is rather interesting, the Daniel Lipskin Museum in the Military History Museum. What you can see, this is an existing building. Perhaps our heritage committee here in India would never allow this to happen. But there, I think in the West, people are much more open. They are not that conservative because they had a lot of faith. And of course, the architect had to prove himself that and how it could be done. And it's a wedge cutting through the existing building. So it's creating this extra space within that. I don't want to get into the detail, just I'm showing the concept which inspires us. Then this is the Jewish Museum in Berlin. You can see the shapes, the brutality, because I've been there as well. The building which you see from outside, even from inside, shows the Holocaust of this Jewish, the Holocaust system there. Beijing National, this Herzog Niemann, everybody knows about it. And I was there when it was under construction, but you see, functionally, it was there as a stadium, Olympic stadium, but the skiing itself. So there was a challenge, how to make it unique, interesting. The concept was there. We are always talking about the concept, just not the form. all the architects' works you are seeing, they had a different concept. Here, most of the architects, the junior architects, this is my address to junior architects, they just copy and paste, they don't go through their ideas and philosophy. They always say, well, this is great, let's copy this thing, this form. But there are a lot of ideas, philosophies go behind it, and engineering, not to mention about the engineering. So we work hand in hand to make this happen. This is BMW Weld, and when I first saw this picture, it's about 10 years back, I was like, it's impossible, you can't build this building. But I made it a point when I went to Munich, I saw this building, and I saw it's quite possible. I mean, you see the geometry, simple geometry, how it can be formed. These are all inspiration. And I keep in touch with this principal architect of that, Ulf de Brix of Copenhagen. And he's been doing a lot of work in Asia as well. Judging what kind of available technology is there, it's not just transplanting his ideas, but it plays with form. Fortunately, I mean, he is fortunate enough to get clients like that, whether Frank Gehry or Copenhagen, Zaha Hadid, but they're all inspiration. I'll come back to the, where are we going to push this technology? To the limit, to the edge of the edge? Where do we end? When this pyramid was built in Louvre, it was very controversial. Why are we going to have this kind of structure, modern structure, in that historical place, Louvre? But I have been there, I've seen the construction. The inspiration was from Egypt, that pyramid, which you saw earlier. And it was translated into modern material technology. Go on, and there's a concourse which is connecting all the wings. And same thing like a Pompidou Center, it was also a very controversial building. It's set amongst all historical buildings around it. But it's a challenge, and the government, they allowed them to happen, the architects to happen. And again, going back to always, you don't have to go for industrial kind of structure. Richard Meyer, their expression of architecture could be different through different material, very simple, minimalistic. Now Tarawando, everybody talks about Tarawando. When I had the opportunity to meet him and attend his lecture before coming back, he couldn't speak English. But the concept, that was amazing. You see the two churches, everybody knows about these two churches. There's no abstract architecture. You see this light, Church of Light, and Church in Water. So God, it expresses the God, the concept, which is most important than bringing in new technology from abroad. So you have to address a concept which can be achieved through local material, local ideas. So God is amidst the nature. You see this, the glass cross sitting in the water. It keeps changing. It's very dynamic. You see the night is different. In winter, it's all snow-covered. The backdrop changes. It's amazing. Now the same Tarawando, he's gone. I didn't know about this. I just saw this post a few days back. He's done some work in Mexico. This Wabi house is amazing. And Mexican architect, I don't know whether I lost all the slides, Louis Barragan. He was impressed by that, inspired by him. So this is global aspiration, because it's not only transfer of technology, it's a transfer of knowledge, transfer of concept, and how we adapt to that social fabric, and social need. That's what matters. This is Louis Barragan, the Mexican famous architect, is my inspiration, playing with different planes, colors, simple minimalistic architecture with a stucco finish. And another architect, Mario Botta, the Swiss architect, and he was also inspired by Louis Kahn and Le Corbusier and Carlos Scarpa. And you look at this building, simple building, which can be done here also without bringing too much of technology, high-tech technology. And not to mention Geoffrey Bawa. Now looking at our Southeast Asia, India, Sri Lanka, beautiful buildings, Geoffrey Bawa, Partho, and all, they have visited that place, I understand. And after post-independence, we talk about, we got Le Corbusier, international architect, and Louis Kahn, and they left indelible mark in the field of architecture, which inspired us, and especially Louis Kahn, when he worked with the bricks, locally available bricks, he used to be at the site, placing each and every brick all around it, and Doshi's work also reflected that. Now coming back to, we brought in ideas, architects from abroad. Now our architects are going abroad to leave their mark on their soil. If you look at this building, it's an MIT Brain Research Center, McGovern, designed by, who else? Our Charles Correa. Here is the city center, we are sitting here. Partho has worked with him. And also in Lisbon, Champlimont Center, This is also a medical research center design. It's a great design. There's a lot of pictures I can show. Also, the small center in Toronto. So all the concepts. Now here in India, we have Laurie Baker. Everybody knows about the Laurie Baker. His working with the local brick. And if you go a little further southeast, you see in Vietnam and Bali, there's all the bamboo structures. It's quite a challenge for there is no steel, it's no SRMB, no steel, no reinforcement. But look at the structure. The structure should be inspired how to use the local material to achieve this kind of form. In this context, I like to show, share some of my experience. When I was abroad working with Skidmore, Winston, I got an opportunity to work on Canary Wharf. It's a 72 acres urban design project, and I was one of the members of 5-member design team. And it helped me because I had a degree in city planning, so that's why I put on this team from AT&T corporate headquarters. But before we studied these things, we had to create a master plan. The master plan was what? We had to create a guideline, and there was an axis. We had to study what sort of character we had in London, UK, architecture, that arcade you have, the central and plaza, and we had different level of parking. And also DLR, Dockland Light Railway, went through this thing. So, and also some towers, which would be highest that time, would be highest in Europe. That's how we made the master plan. Now it's all built, you can see. And interestingly, Skidmore, Wings and Mill didn't do the whole project. Each parcel was given out to different architect. Why?